It was a huge failure. We had to take a massive loss. We had to bring the valuation right back down. We raised loads of money from private equity at like this massive valuation. All of a sudden there was, some pretty serious foxes in the hen house. And the whole thing was pretty hard to manage.
The Businessmen, sponsored by BT Business. Welcome back, everybody, to The Businessmen. I'm Joel Dommett, and this guy is the insatiable Ben Shepherd.
You know me too well. Yes, this is our show, The Businessmen, following the journey that we are starting, and we are charging forward on to develop our own skincare brand. It's been an absolute dream, hasn't it, Joel?
It's been a dream with a couple of nightmares in there as well.
Nightmares are dreams.
Yeah,
Nightmares are dreams.
all under one umbrella. So a lot has happened so far, including this.
So the big thing that you've said to me that rang alarm bells for me is when you said that the data that we have suggests that 80% of male skincare is bought by women. Yet you're still fixated on finding out what the men want. But they're not going to be the ones buying it.
The skincare industry is very welcoming. The beauty industry is very welcoming to people who respect it and take it seriously. If you don't, we get rid of you so quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
So the person who has got the least surveys completed and the person who will be receiving the nipple pierce is Joel.
There's some commitment people make to their art and to their futures. Committing their nipples, though, I think is an exceptionally generous thing to have done.
Thank you.
How is little Ben the Bar?
Ben the bar? It's there.
It's there.
I can feel it.
Do you think of me when you go to bed at night when the water's dripping on it, trying to clean it?
And I think to myself, I hate that guy, Ben Shepherd. When I can't now sleep on my front, which is my preferable sleeping position.
That's not good. The great news is the two of us committing to that challenge bizarrely inspired an awful lot of people to complete the skincare survey.
Really did.
So thank you to everybody that has. We have well over 5,000 skincare surveys now, on our way to the magic 10,000 mark.
Yeah, which would be the biggest male skincare survey that's ever been done. Not just in the UK, but might well be internationally.
Yeah. And we want to be able to take that to potential investors to explain exactly how we are collating the information and the inspiration for this skincare brand. So they absolutely want to invest in us and the brand so we can bring these products to market, which is amazing.
And you can catch up with everything that's happened so far. You can listen to missed episodes wherever you get your podcasts, and obviously subscribe if you haven't done so already. There is loads that you have missed.
And I promise you, the YouTube episode, the podcast episode, but the YouTube episode of Joel having his nipple pierced is a moment of pure joy.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in the public. I just really wish it was you so bad. I really so badly wish it was you.
Fortunately, I knew I could rely on my people.
Yeah.
And they came through. Hey, Joel.
Hello.
Did you know that 99% of UK businesses are small or medium-sized?
That is interesting.
Yeah, 99%. They are the businesses that are the beating heart of our communities, our economy, and they matter to us, which is why we're teaming up with BT Business for our brand new feature, the Small Business Spotlight.
Yes, next month we want to shine a light on your business and the amazing work that you do. It's super simple. Just follow the link in the episode description and drop us a voice note. Tell us who you are, what your business is called, what you do, and why you deserve to be in the spotlight.
Yeah, we'll share your shout outs in upcoming episodes. You can even nominate a small business you love, because BT Business knows how hard these owners work, and we all want to celebrate them.
Yes, we do. So follow the link in the description or head to our Patreon to record your voice note. And thank you to BT Business for helping us keep small businesses moving at pace with reliable, secure connectivity.
What have we got coming up on today's show, Joel?
We've got a fantastic episode today. We have ex-Made in Chelsea star and founder of his very own company, Clean Co. Spencer Matthews is coming into the studio to talk to us about how He's sort of been this huge brand, built it from the ground up, from just a tiny idea to getting massive investment and what that did for his business.
Yeah.
And yeah, what happened after that?
I think we read and see a lot of Spencer doing very courageous, crazy adventure challenges. His Project 7, which was 7 Ironmen in 7 different continents, and pushing himself and testing himself. We don't hear a lot about this business that he set up, Clean Coke, in comparison. And that story is equally as crazy and courageous as well, isn't it?
It is mad. And also what we don't find, even if we do hear of his company Clean Co and may have heard of it in the past, what I don't think you hear about is the failings of that journey and how he got to where he is today. And so I was fascinated to hear him be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really great chat.
It's brilliant to have Spencer Matthews with us. Spencer, thank you for joining us on The Businessmen.
Thanks for having us. It's so great. I know you both individually, but didn't realise that you were kind of pals and podcasters together and
it's a small
business owners. And,
Businessmen.
I know. Isn't this quite the meeting?
It's great. Honestly, there's so much to learn from you, whether it's physicality, whether it's like your positivity that you have in your general life. I find so intoxicating, ironically, because you're now involved in like clean living. It's like, I mean, many examples of it. Last time I saw you was when we did the marathon together. We started the London Marathon.
Ooh, the super hot one?
It was the super hot one that sort of crept up on us. And Spencer, we probably ran together for the first like third of it, maybe, something like that.
Yeah. We kind of saw each other a fair amount for a while.
And then I fainted and woke up in an ambulance.
I actually couldn't believe that. So I messaged you at the end because obviously we were having a great time together, running together basically, give or take, a few meters. And I messaged you and I was like, how'd you go? And you were like, I'm in an ambulance. And I was like, oh,
because I think
he loves a bit of drama, Spence.
I love a bit of drama. I was like, I'm not getting enough attention.
What I love, Spencer, because we've got straight into things that we're really interested in, which is fitness and health. But of course, the thing that we actually want to talk about as well is your business life. Because we see you talking about and running these marathons, and as Joel was saying, you've got this infectious energy about how you attack your physical challenges. When it comes to business, do you attack that with a similar sort of zeal and energy and enthusiasm, or are you a little bit more circumspect?
I'm more circumspect now than I used to be. Like I founded Clean Co, which is an alcohol-free alternative to spirits. So we make alcohol-free whiskey, rum, tequila, gin, vodka, and we've got some RTDs coming out ready to drink, cans of cocktails, all alcohol-free, low-calorie, hardly any sugar type thing. I think when and by the way, I'm no business expert. Thanks for the big build-up in business, but I have learned a lot. Clean Co was a real. It completely took over my life in a really positive way. I was a big alcoholic before, and I don't use the word lightly. It's a bit of a dirty word, obviously, and most people associate it with being, passed out on a park bench, which wasn't necessarily true of me. But I had a really bad relationship with alcohol, which spiraled.
Functioning alcoholic, would you say?
Yeah, functioning until the end of it. Where I wasn't really, and I'd kind of lost a bit of control. For me, it's about control. If you feel like you have control over your alcohol consumption, then you're probably okay. And I was drinking on a daily basis, sometimes to excess, quite often to excess. And I knew I'd lose my wife if I carried on. She wasn't my wife at the time. She was pregnant with Theodore. And so she had stopped drinking, which really created this big gap between us. Because, when we were first together, we'd be pretty social. We were out quite a lot.
Partying each other.
Drinking quite a lot, partying with each other. She fell pregnant and I carried on with that life and she didn't. But Clean Co was this incredible lightning bolt moment for me. Like I cared enormously about the idea of it. And it was a kind of, felt like I had to do it. I was at a party and I'd been sober for 3.5 months. Someone gave me a non-alcoholic gin and tonic. They said, "Do you want a non-alcoholic gin and tonic?" I said, "What's that?" Never heard of that before. As a concept, I'd never heard of that before.
Yeah.
And I had it, and it was kind of interesting, and it tasted a little, different to just a tonic water. It was like an elevated cocktaily experience. It was seedlip, and
Of course.
and I looked at the bottle, and it was made with kind of hay and peas and all kinds of stuff, and bark and trees, and I was just like, oh, how strange that it would be a gin with no juniper, and like, why wouldn't they play more in the gin space? And it turns out they're not trying to be a gin.
No.
People are just calling it a gin because it
They didn't
feels
know what
like
it was,
might be a gin.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to create the world's first like alcohol-free gin and call it, alcohol-free gin? I didn't know any of the rules or regulations around gin. You need 36.5% alcohol to be a gin. It has to have the predominance of juniper. I knew nothing, right?
Yeah, so you can't actually call it non-alcoholic. You can't call it no alcohol gin, can you? Gin
we
is,
did,
yeah.
though. And it was kind of, we got slapped on the wrist all the time. I think the naivety of never having run a business or never having started a business, but having this, deep desire to be competitive and to win and to prove a point. I'd just come from this like really dirty, boozy, decade of excessive drinking. And I always felt like a bit of an outsider, even in my own family. So, my brother would kind of raise his eyes at any idea that I would have. And, I felt like my dad didn't fully trust me with, certain family bits and bobs. And just because I was a loud, loud party boy who liked being the center of attention. And I would kind of live off their success, not live off it in a monetary sense necessarily, but I would kind of, their wins would be my wins, right? And it was all a bit of a shame, really. I valued all the wrong things. The business really was my first ever opportunity to go out and prove myself in a sober setting, creating something that I thought could make a really big difference to people. And I did the whole thing on my own for a while. I traveled around distilleries trying to find somebody to help me make this non-alcoholic gin, and people really didn't really understand the point of it, and there was so much pushback as to like why it would be a necessity or a need. And it was all off gut feel, just kind of, I feel like this will be something. And that's all I had. I didn't have any market data, any market research. So when I started having conversations with family offices and funds, it was just pure enthusiasm and
blissful
and the
ignorance.
dream. Yeah, like this is what I think, and they love that. Someone in your team very kindly just asked me a couple of questions about fundraising. I think like brutal honesty and a bit of ignorance and naivety goes quite a long way at the very start. Obviously, when you've been operating for 5-6 years, you need, a degree of data, and obviously, you need to be able to show market cases and stuff that's happened and
prove
stuff
the
that's failed.
opportunities there. Yeah.
But when it's just an idea, particularly something that doesn't exist, you are it, right? And if you can get somebody to really believe what you're saying and trust that you can deliver at least a version of it, that's what they're going to invest in.
One of the things I think is really interesting about what you've just described there, and for lots more brilliant insights from Spencer, do go to the Patreon, because he's done some questions there of how you can help with your pitching. But all of the experts, particularly the dragons that we've had on, Deborah Meaden was really clear about this. But they all say it's not just the idea they invest in the people right up front. They want to have a great why, and your why is so compelling. You've had that lived experience, you've tasted this drink, and you think, hold on, I think there's something here, there's an opportunity here, and your enthusiasm and your energy,
exactly that.
That's infectious, whether that's in the world of exercise and challenge and physical stuff. Right then and there would be, I can imagine, really enthralling for a panel of investors who 9 times out of 10 are getting very clear business reasons for investing in a business, but not necessarily the emotional reason.
It's quite fun because you sort of make your own rules. And you turn up and my biggest mistake probably as a founder was rushing things and like wanting to just get things done quickly, and not focusing on it being as good as it possibly can be, right? I was in a mad rush to be first on shelf here, like first in this territory, and it's the person who gets there and does the better job will always win. Like if Seedlip's there and we arrive and we're a better proposition than Seedlip, and better priced and a better brand with a better we'll wipe them out. It doesn't really matter who's there first, really. And I made that mistake plenty, but it's also just great fun. I'd call bottling manufacturers and say, we'd love 50,000 units of these bottles, and they'll be like, oh right, okay, these have a 9-month lead time, and I'd say, why can't you just make them? I'd love them in 9 days. Like, yeah, well, we don't do that. It's like, why not? And then you'd call around, call, some Italian bottler, and you'd make all these, and then you'd find people that can just do it quicker and get the labels quicker. And it was kind of not that speed is, as I've just said, it was a mistake to do a lot of this really quickly, but it's just fun, right? Because you don't really understand certain things that are in place.
The process,
and you just, everything happens as you want it to happen. It's exciting.
I think that's a perfect sort of thing with what you're saying there, with business, with the way that you should approach marathons, which now you probably know that too about marathons. Yeah. That thing, if you go out of the gates too quick, like you just said, you get to 10K and you've done a 41-minute 10K and you're just all out. You're like,
and you suddenly realise, I forgot my music, or I didn't realise there was no crowd, and now suddenly it's really hot.
You hit a wall, and then everyone passes you because they've done it slightly slower from the beginning.
I guess if I was to repeat doing CleanCo, which by the way has had so many huge falls from grace and near-death experiences over the time. It's easy to look at it. If you look at our latest deck, you're going to see an awesome business that's really impressive. But the reality of it getting to that position is, we've survived all kinds of stuff. And I think if I were to start a brand new CleanCo today, I would do it very differently. I love the experience, right, of what we have done, but you just take it slower, you'd spend longer on product development, you'd get the brand to a place that you're very, very, very happy with it. We were shape-shifting in real time, I'm not sure people like this, let's change it. Still not quite there, let's change it again. And it's it took a while for people to even understand who we were, because we looked different, so, but that's just my inexperience as an executive.
Let's go back, if we can, because I want to go back to the start of it then, because this is so interesting, not least the ups and downs, because that's going to resonate undoubtedly with lots of our listeners. You launched in 2019.
Yeah.
So you've got this blind enthusiasm and you're going out to investors. Do you remember that first moment that one of the investors said, do you know what, Spencer, we're going to give you some money? And what was that like?
Yeah, it was an incredible experience, and I'll try and sum it up quickly. It was Nicole Quinn, who was a director at Lightspeed. Lightspeed is a massive fund who invest mainly in tech, and they don't really do consumer products. And she and I clicked very early on. We just really liked each other. And she'd written an article that was published in something that someone happened to send me, saying that Lightspeed were looking for interesting ways to bypass the 3-tier distribution system in the States. Selling alcohol in the States is really complicated. It swaps hands 3 or 4 times before it ends up on shelf. There's tons of layers to it, tons of complexity. It's a really difficult process. But obviously we get to bypass that. There's no booze in our product. So I wrote an email to somebody at Lightspeed, blindly. I was introduced to somebody that works at Lightspeed. I said, I'd really love to chat to Nicole Quinn. We've got a really interesting line of products that we're producing that are booze without the booze, that look like booze and taste like booze and feel like booze. But they shouldn't have to play any part in the 3-tier distribution system because there's no alcohol tax, there's no alcohol. And Nicole emailed me back after about a week and said she'll be in London. So I had settled on a £5 million valuation for the idea and the business and what it should be worth to raise the initial funds. I didn't want to sell more than 20% of the business. So we're looking to raise about £1 million.
And that came off the back of what?
That was just we need £1 million. So I long story, but we came to the conclusion. I now had 2 other people working with me, one of whom had built brands before.
Sure.
And my idea of having to raise 100 grand or something to get going was shot dead, on day one by this guy. And he said, we need £1 million. I said, what do we need £1 million for? They said, trust me, like we're going to need tens of millions, but like we need £1 million just to get going, to build a team, to get the office space, to get the thing grinding. Like we can't just buy a few thousand bottles, fill them, sell them, reinvest. Like he's like, that's not how this is going to work. We need a base. So I was like, how are we going to raise £1 million when the company is valueless?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, the company's not valueless. It's a great idea and it's cool and it has a great name. And we were called the Clean Liquor Company then. I started way higher, by the way. I had initially, this is going to sound ridiculous, right? I'd initially valued the thing at £20 million with no sales and no product. Like
just from your bedroom, you're sitting there going, yeah.
Yeah. And I'd flown to Luxembourg to try and raise funds through this family office. They agreed in the meeting to invest at a level of £5 million as a valuation. So they kind of set the valuation. So I went in at 20. They literally were just like, how are you valuing it? And I just said, to be honest, I don't like... I'm looking to sell about 20% of the business. And, you know, they said, well, in that case, you know, we'll do this. Because they like the idea. They like the clean drinking. They like the clean cocktails. They thought it was a timely thing. I think they did £500,000, but they agreed to do it for 10%, you know, at a post-money valuation of 5. So I didn't know what pre or post money was at the time, but essentially once we've raised all the money, it had to add up to 5, right? So the value of the company plus the money. And I didn't know that. And Nicole in this meeting taught me that. So she was like, what is the valuation of the business? And I was like, oh, it's 5 million. And she was like, is it 5 million pre or post money? I was like, I don't know what that is. And she was like, well, is it all added up or is it 5 million plus the money? And I was like, oh no, I think it's all added up. And she was just like, okay, so it's post money and 5 million post money.
And you're literally doing, by the way, doing everything we're told not to do. Go into these opportunity meetings and not know. I mean, what did the dragons all say? Not know your numbers.
Oh, mate, but we had no numbers, right? Yeah. I had a bottle with some liquid in it and I brought a bottle of Seedlip to the meeting. And I made 2 gin and tonics. And I said, which is better? And she was like, I prefer yours. I said, great. They're the only show in town. So let's go and hammer them. You know, like I think we can do that. And she was like, look, I love you and blah, blah, blah. And she ended up, she said, well, Lightspeed will do £1 million, right? So she wanted the full $1 million. It's nothing to them, by the way. They write tickets for hundreds of millions. Like they're huge. Right? And for her, like £1 million ticket at a £5 million valuation, you know, were we to become $1 billion company, they own 20% of the company and they're off to the races. And that's just a little, you know, flip of the coin for her at this stage because the thing has nothing, right? Yeah. So she's in right at the very start. And I said, oh no, we've already got like a commitment of 500K. So we don't need the $1 million. I'll just take 500. And she was like, if Lightspeed offer you $1 million, you'll take the $1 million. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, can we go over the 5? Like this is now 5.5. And she was like, yeah, so it's now 5.5 and you take the $1 million. I was like, great. I still didn't really get it. I went and spoke to my brother and he was like, Spencer, there's absolutely no way that Lightspeed are writing a check for £1 million into this company. I was like, no, they are. Like she said that they are.
Oh my God.
And James was like, trust me. Like there's no. I was like, Nicole Quinn is the director of Lightspeed. Just had lunch with her. He said they're doing a minute. He's like, they're going to want this. They're going to want that. They're going to want pref this. They're going to like. He was like, they're going to just hammer you. And she was just completely reasonable. I pulled my brother in to the conversation, and she just said, I like your brother. I like the idea. We'll take a punt on it. We don't need anything special, you know, whatever. And my brother was like, I've never in all my life seen. And I'm sat there thinking like, maybe I'm Elon Musk or something like shit. And that was a real turning point for me.
Well,
so I remember it, you know, of course.
What a moment though.
It was brilliant. It was like, I can remember going home and because none of us really got it. Like obviously since then I've raised £30 million for various companies. Lots of it gone into CleanCo, and I'm pretty. I run the fundraisers for the company. Like we don't hire professionals to do it for us. I'm very used to it now with the, you know, the term sheets and how we organize it as a business.
Sounds like you love it.
I love the fundraising element for businesses. I find it really interesting to get people to a place where they understand you and what you're doing. I enjoy that as a process. But I remember telling Vogue, and she just didn't. She was like, "So she owns the company now?" I was like, "No, like I own the company, but she owns it with me." And like it was all just we were fish out of water, and we built the business. We ran a bit too hard, a bit too fast.
So what does that mean?
The business did like $1.4 million of turnover in its first year. Lots of that was during COVID. Vogue and I were making clean cocktails at home. and doing pretty significant sales, D2C, direct to consumer, just shipping, because we were able to continue that side of the business. We got like 40,000 followers in 3 or 4 days back then, because I think everyone was online, right? Everyone was just at home. And I know it was great. So we raised more money, and we raised. We ended up raising 2.1 initially. Then we raised a further 7.5 quite quickly, like a year later. And then less than a year after that, we raised 20 at a pre-money valuation of £80 million.
Christ.
But like we didn't have the sales to support that, but it was just more of like the dream.
Wow.
We had a tremendous fall from grace. I can't tell you, like it was like a nosedive, because we went into 40 states. We pumped shitloads of product, like 6 million quid's worth of product all over the States. Nuked a bunch of money on marketing, rushed it. My fault again. And just burnt the money, like burnt through the 20 million, not many sales, not enough hand holding. Like in the States, this is years before anything like this existed. We were the first to market, which I thought was a big thing.
Yes.
That's actually a bit shit, right? Because there's no proof of concept. So you've got people saying like, well, why do I need a non-alcoholic tequila? And it's just like, fucking hell, we haven't done any of the like educational piece. And it was a huge failure. We had to take a massive loss. We had to bring the valuation right back down. We raised loads of money from private equity at like this massive valuation. All of a sudden there was, some pretty serious foxes in the hen house. And it, the whole thing was pretty hard to manage.
What happens then?
We need to right-size the business. We need to unfortunately lose a few people. The business can't sustain the level of...
Do you know how many people you were employing at that point?
We had like 38 people employed at that time, and now we have 7.
So suddenly it has to be trimmed significantly.
But it's interesting. It's all part of a learning. Right?
Yeah.
Like what the team achieves now is genuinely more than what the team achieved then. We have the right people. We spend the right amount of money. Everything's downsized, but actually the business is in growth. It's just an interesting learning. Everything is. I stepped down as CEO at the time. The private equity fund, and we get along famously. I mean, there was a time when it was pretty sketchy. But
describe sketchy for us. What were those moments like?
Just like hard to sleep at night, because obviously people trust what you say. Like, people trust what you put in front of them.
We're talking tens of millions of pounds.
And the thing essentially didn't deliver at all. But at the same time, you're taking these risks together, right? None of these decisions were taken without their consent. They came in with the money and also, some controlling factors around the board. So it's not like we just burnt the money and they suddenly went, where is it?
They wouldn't have put that money in the first place if they didn't think it was
so they were kind of aware of it. We all saw it nosediving together a bit. So we kind of had to, group up and decide what to do next. If that particular instance didn't kill the business, nothing ever will.
Yeah.
We are. So we went through that. We hired Billy Peretti, who was the CMO at Belvedere at the time. And he was beginning to have a bit of a moral dilemma with selling alcohol, full stop.
Interesting.
He helped build Belvedere, the brand and everything. And I caught him at a time where he just felt like he didn't want to be selling, hundreds of thousands of cases of alcohol to people to have fun. He doesn't drink much at all. And again, loved this idea and loved what we stood for and wanted to come across and work with us. So he left them, worked with us. He literally, one of the first things he said to me was, this is going to take 2.5 to 3 years to clear up.
Really?
So he was like, please don't expect us to make a U-turn and to just like sail off into the sunset. He's like, that's not going to happen. He's like, we have to unravel this whole deal. We have to create a new distribution deal with Southern Glazers. That will take months in itself, right? Because we've got all this stock that is essentially being written off. So we have to navigate all of this without being sued as well by these people whose stock has rotted when they bought it. We need to keep the investors happy. He's like, it's going to be a really long, slow grind. And we came out of that about a year ago and have been operating much better since.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've said all this.
It's amazing.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
How do you though, Spencer, you're so full of enthusiasm. And as you said right at the start, you want to get going, you want to get there. And I imagine there must have been part of you that was itching to get it back to where it's working.
I will look at the deck and we'll look at 2028 turnover and I'll be like, can't can't we nudge that up a bit? And he'd just be like, we've been here before, haven't we? You know, with the monster numbers and it's a very important point, by the way, to say that those numbers weren't plucked out of thin air. They were just very optimistic, and I think we were very clear with that. You know, it's just for the avoidance of doubt, it is illegal to raise money off a false plan, right? So that's a very, very serious offence, and that is not what we did at the time. What we did was say, you know, this is the best possible scenario, and it's pretty rosy. You know, who's in? Yeah. And people came in.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and they were keen to get involved.
I had a number of discussions with some people that I won't, you know, name for obvious reasons, but, you know, they were really bent out of shape and wanted their money back. Not our proper professional, you know, private equity partners or venture funds, like more individuals. And I said to them, I just said, I invest regularly in stuff, and I write it off the day I write the check. You know, like, we're still in business. You know, we're not doing the things that we said we would at this stage, but we expect to get there. Just, you know, you can't just pull your money out. That doesn't work that way. You know, the businesses aren't in a position to do that anyway. You know, somebody would need to buy your shares.
That's the interesting thing, though. Going to venture capitalists or going to family funds or whatever, you know, they are doing it strategically and they are writing off. Going to individuals or family friends, do you feel the responsibility of taking their money because they have it and they're willing to put it in, but it tends to be more important to them than this big firm that can write £1 million check for you?
For sure. Yeah. What's more important to me, though, is winning for them. Yeah. Right. So of course, same thing. Like, I want my brother-in-law, who I was telling you about, to feel the win and to respect me. You know, I don't want to be that guy that, you know, takes a deck around and collects money and the thing goes belly up and all of a sudden you're that dude, you know, like, it's kind of, I would much rather we won, you know. So it's interesting and it shapeshifts. What's really important as well is keeping an eye, in my opinion, on the world around it as well, right? Because that shifts and that changes. And, you know, it's interesting. I was having this conversation with my wife the other day that our dreams kind of 10 years ago may not look the same now, right? Because maybe we desperately wanted to be TV presenters, but the state of television is very different now to how it was before. Maybe we wanted to own this and that, but it actually doesn't make too much sense to own this or that anymore. So, you know, we need to kind of be fluid with it. You know, alcohol is literally, and the general person or consumer probably doesn't feel this in the street, but like, global alcohol is falling off a cliff. Like, it is crashing and burning in a violent way. Like, executives at big alcohol companies are getting replaced, fired. It's a serious problem. Like, you know, a lot of massive famous booze brands are just going belly up. And, you know,
the next generation is not adopting it at all.
They're just not drinking.
It's an insane difference between the generations of how much our parents drank compared to how much we did to the generation next. It's like different. And there's such beer moths of companies that are huge, which you know more than anyone.
It's something like our generation or Gen. What am I? I'm a millennial. So millennials drank something like $38 billion worth of booze last year. Gen Z drank like $2 billion worth of booze last year. So it's literally just like, it's not even in the same realm. It's just fallen off. And you get people going, oh yeah, but that generation will pass and then it'll go back to boozing. I don't think it will. No. I think it's going to be, there'll always be a place for alcohol, I think. The best thing that I've learned, I reckon, as well over the years, is that there's always another door. Always. Like, I used to back myself into these corners where I go, if this doesn't happen, then everything's going to collapse, you know, and I'd get in my mind that on July 12th, if we don't have this funding or this, then the whole thing is just going to implode. And of course, July 12th comes around and it doesn't implode, you know, and it's still there. And then you kind of, Ursula Burns, who's our chairwoman, she was the first black woman to CEO a Fortune 500 company. She ran Xerox. Her story is just remarkable. She was an engineer and she got a job at Xerox and rose to be CEO of Xerox and then president of Xerox. And now she's this, you know, titan of industry who gives interviews on Bloomberg and Forbes. And, you know, she was an aide to Barack Obama. And she taught me that, you know, I'd be really frustrated. And she would just say, if door A is burning down, just like have a look at door B and door C, and we figure out which one we're going to go through. Leave door A, and everyone piles through the door that we choose, and just everyone has a job and a role and a responsibility. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. Let's go and do it.
This segment is brought to you by Vanguard. Joel, would you listen to this? There's new research that reveals a real imbalance when it comes to investing. According to Vanguard sourced data, 60% of women say they're put off simply because they don't feel confident or fully informed.
I mean, I get it. My mind boggles at how to fold a fitted sheet properly, Ben, let alone what to invest in. You need a Meaden or a Davies in your pocket for all of this incredible knowledge.
And that is exactly why Vanguard Managed ISA changes the game. Whether you're business savvy or not, their experts handle the complicated bits. They help you understand how much risk you are comfortable taking, match you with a plan, and then they just quietly get on with managing it.
Absolutely, leaving you free to focus on life's big things, like listening to the businessmen or, completing out a very thorough skincare questionnaire, I'm just saying.
A vital part of any balanced lifestyle, and truthfully, investing is just one example. Across comedy, business, television, you can still see the imbalance. So we figured this was the perfect chance to acknowledge some of the incredible women who push us forward.
Yes, Ben. And today it's my turn.
Your turn. Who are you going with?
Yeah, because there is one woman, Ben, who lives rent-free in my head.
Who's that?
Her name is Mary Berry.
National treasure.
The national treasure, Ben. She is the embodiment of calm excellence. She's built an entire career on skill, warmth, and this incredible sense of just reassurance.
Some may say an empire.
It's a huge empire. Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we talk about all the time. Well-being, confidence, taking care of yourself. Mary Berry is like this sort of human version of a perfectly iced sponge. Steady, joyful, and somehow just makes you want to be better.
She really does have that effect when you meet her, doesn't she?
Yeah, she really does. And think about what she represents. Ben, a woman who carved out her own space in food and broadcasting, who stayed relevant across generations, who's shown that authority doesn't have to be loud. It can also be kind. As a role model, especially for women navigating industries that haven't always welcomed them, she is truly phenomenal. Proof that you can follow your passion, reinvent yourself, and do it all with grace. And that's inspiring for anyone, business person or otherwise.
Beautifully put, Joel.
Thank you, man.
That's exactly why Vanguard's message lands so well. Whoever you are, business person or otherwise, Vanguard's mission is to take a stand for all investors, treat them fairly, and give them the best chance for investment success.
The Vanguard Managed ISA could be a brilliant place to start if you want to invest with confidence.
Yeah, just search Vanguard Managed ISA to find out more.
And remember, when investing, your capital is at risk. Tax rules apply.
Wow. You love Mary Berry.
I love Mary Berry, man. I think in a weird way, this is that journey of CleanCo is so important for you personally, because if you just swang and fucking smashed it out of the stadium first go,
yeah,
I think something bigger would have happened further along the road, which would have been more dangerous and worse.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to have that sort of slight blip in the journey early on. To now, you all learn as a business, the business hasn't folded. You're now growing at a really reasonable rate.
Yeah.
To then in 10 years' time, whatever it is, I think for you personally, knowing you well, I think it's so important for you and your personality and your business to have had that happen to you.
I completely agree with what you just said. If that had gone according to plan, it would have been a nightmare, I think. It would have been horrendous.
Gosh, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Before we get to talking about what we're trying to do and maybe helping with that, what's next for your business?
Yeah, can we just, so where are you now? Where's
Yeah.
CleanCo now? It's 2026, start of 2026. I know that Ben Stokes has become part of the business.
Yeah, Ben Stokes invested.
Which is that, I mean, that's a really fantastic statement, isn't it? Because
he's a beautiful man, right? That is, that word authentic and authenticity gets chucked around all the time. And of course it's important, but that was the most authentic piece of fundraising ever. I was in the gym on my beloved bench press, which I love. And I was with Sean Stafford, my pal, and I got a DM on Instagram, and it was Ben Stokes, the great Ben Stokes, who I love, never spoken before, we've never met before. And he said that he had a clean cocktail in a restaurant and he loves it. And, he's reshaping his relationship with alcohol and he'd love to talk to me about becoming a part of the business. I just thought, fucking hell. I messaged my dad and dad literally went God, you're jammy.
Another moment where they're going, Spencer!
No, and I messaged him back. I was like, Ben, happy to jump on a call anytime. And we spoke that evening. And he was just, as you might expect, Captain of England, modest, calm, cool, collected. I couldn't have been more honest with him. I took him through everything I've just told you. I said, listen, this is it's a roller coaster of a ride. When your team dig into this, they're going to find a bunch of shit they don't like. I ask you to just trust that we'll get there in the end. But this is going to appear quite messy, and you're probably going to be told not to do it. And he just said, I love an underdog. I love that you're still around with it. And he just said, don't worry. Ultimately, I'll make the decision. And we went back and forth for a while, and he eventually did it.
The product that he tried, he loved, he believed in, he thought, this is great. And that's the why. So regardless of the mess of the finance, he kind of go, this is this good when I'm just chasing it. If that can get sorted out, surely there's an opportunity there.
We're at a stage now where I think we can operate and move forward without having to shine too much light on the past.
That's great.
Whereas when the past is still there, you kind of have to address it. But now I think we can just, we just appear to be a normal, good, smaller company instead of we went for this and failed. We're now just like, this is nice and it's attractive and here's where it's priced.
Really positive, successful, good brand, great products.
Priced adequately with the right, numbers attached to it, everything just,
But you're an ambitious guy
easier.
though still, Spencer. So and there's a twinkle in your eye always. What is your hope then for CleanCo?
I'd love to pour some fuel on the fire now that we're confident in the team and our ability. Because the only time we've ever poured significant fuel on the fire, we messed it up. Different team, different time, different landscape. Yeah. Better team, better time, better landscape. I'd love to, we're raising $6 million now.
And you personally are less flammable as well.
Yeah. Well, we've been through it. Like my line in meetings now is, other people have paid for the sins and mistakes of the past. You're coming into a clean slate, which I think is attractive to someone, I hope.
Yeah.
I would personally like to look at something like that. It's like, we've had all of this gone wrong. We know what not to do.
Yeah.
This is the new strategy. It's
it takes a certain type, and this is why you're good at it. You're not just sort of you've not got that energy in the room in order to get these deals done and get this capital put into your business. You've also got a confidence, an unwavering confidence in your own product and your own business. Something that I think I struggle with a lot of the time is that I don't necessarily believe in myself enough. And that's classic why I became a comedian, because self-deprecation is always that's
very endearing, and it works. Yeah, it's funny.
But what's hard with business, it couldn't be more different from that self-deprecation thing, because you've got to fucking believe so much in what you're doing and what the other people are doing in business. You've got to be like, this is amazing. Yeah. I'm amazing. Believe in me. Let's fucking hold hands and go into the fire, my friends. And that's what need to learn how to be better at, I think. So more important than all of this, Spencer, you have very good skin.
Doesn't he?
Oh, yes.
Beautiful skin.
Fantastic skin.
Do I? Thank you.
Can you please tell us what it is you do?
I can't leave the house without moisturizing my face. Genuinely, I'm not saying that because I know you guys are doing a face cream, but I feel completely naked without face cream.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that you guys are building a face cream business because you also love face cream.
Skincare. Yeah, exactly that.
For me, thick. I used to, do you know what I used to use?
Like your skincare.
I used to love that. That blue pot of Nivea.
Yes,
with the thick.
That your mum had
because it was so cheap. You didn't mind just going.
But you have a lovely wet face. For dry face sucks, and I'll never leave the house without. Even the moisturizers where you moisturize and you put it on and then your face feels a touch dry because it's I don't know. I've got lots of different moisturizers. I steal my wife's moisturizer. I'm so glad that you guys are doing a face cream because it honestly it's phenomenal. You look wonderful at 51, by the way.
Thank you.
Unbelievable, right?
Isn't it good?
I feel like
I feel like we look a similar age. I'm 37. I don't think.
I think I look a bit younger.
Yeah.
I really don't. But no. But I think that the benefit that I've had when I think about this is that I started working in telly in the late 1990s, early 2000s. And since then, I have had really, really fantastic experts look after my skin and teach me the importance of looking after my skin, because I wouldn't have had that not been the case.
I'm no expert, but if you do just wash your face and leave the house with no moisturizer, my goodness, you're missing out. Put moisturizer.
Right. It feels great.
It feels fantastic. No, genuinely, I've done this. I've left the house before and forgotten, and turn around and gone back and put it on, and because you actually feel like it's awful. I can't bear it actually.
So the interesting thing as well, and what's really fascinating hearing you talk about your story, and you say if you could go back and do Clean Co again, you would put the brakes on a little bit, you would develop the brand a little bit, you'd develop this identity, you'd develop its values, you'd get to the point where everything was a little bit more robust. It wasn't just your enthusiasm and your energy and one brilliant idea. And I think what we're trying to do, certainly by building a community, like you and Vogue managed to get all these followers online during lockdown, we're building this community that are taking part in our skincare survey. The naming of the brand came about because we put the options to our following, and there's a sort of there's a reverence and fun about the skincare brand that we want to have. We want it to be serious, but we want it to smile back at them, want them to have a laugh with it as well.
This foreskin.
Yeah. Joel and Ben for Skin, which of course is it's really still amazing now. The people that come up to me and they really, really love it, and then one or two will go, "Are you really doing that?
Yeah.
Are you?" Because didn't Vogue say to you, "Is this an actual real thing?"
I think but I think it was the foreskin thing that threw her, you know. But yeah. Obviously, she takes you both very seriously.
No, quite.
But I think that's also fun because. I mean, I don't know whether this is bad or good in business, but whatever happens, it gets a reaction.
Are you going to do a topless black and white photo shoot together? Because I personally would. I'd like to see it.
Are you in?
I think that I'm not taking the piss. I think a billboard with the two of you, topless, black and white, very Calvin Klein, holding the cream with some funny slogan over you. Hey, listen, it's a good start. Hey, listen, you can have that one for free.
I love that we're already designing the ad campaign.
I think, hey, listen, the two of you together.
Spencer, we're looking for some investment, by the way.
Yeah. What's the valuation?
20 million.
Yeah. I think if the two of you, right, are on a white horse, topless, on a beach, behind each other like this, looking at the camera, but super serious, black and white, foreskin by Joel and Ben. Like, listen, I'm buying it. I genuinely think that is good though, right?
But also,
I love
for
that
me,
he would use our foreskin on his face.
Exactly.
I can't wait.
For me, it's always about leaning in, right?
I bet Vogue nicks it as well.
I bet she will.
Yeah,
she'd be bang up for
all over our foreskin. Yeah. Let's do it, man.
Spencer, thank you so much for joining us. It's been, honestly, for all the times I've sat down and we've interviewed you and we've chatted about the amazing things that you've done in your life and your family and all those sorts of things, just to get the world of your business and what you're doing with Clean Co and what an incredible journey that's been.
It's fascinating, man.
Has been brilliant. Thank you for being so honest and sharing.
Nice to hear sort of a different side to you that we haven't necessarily heard before. You know?
Thanks. I've not shared it before, so I'm fully expecting a call from someone. Hey, I listened to this podcast. Are you crazy? It's the kind of thing that's going to happen. But oh well.
You owe us $20 million, man.
Hey, you think this is funny? You think this is a joke? Yeah.
The Businessmen, sponsored by BT Business. That was the brilliant Spencer Matthews. I really, really enjoyed that chat.
So much extraordinarily positive, exciting projection initially, and such a dramatic fall from that position.
And then building up slowly and understanding what's important, and then
brick by brick.
Now at a really healthy place, and feels like he's now in a really great position to push his brand forwards like he always wanted to do.
Yeah, he's got an incredible amount of confidence about it all, doesn't he? Which is really, really infectious. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Remember to subscribe on YouTube and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.